everyone, and welcome to Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails, the weekly podcast that helps you grow your business, improve your life, and enjoy yourself along the way. I'm your host, Alan Langer, and every week we try to bring you the best thought leaders, the best business leaders, and the best minds out there to help you succeed in business and in life. So sit back, relax, grab your pad, your pen, and your favorite beverage, and enjoy the next episode of Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails. Hey everyone, this is Alan Langer.
Hi, this is Chiara Covone.
And listen, everyone is expecting my podcast as well as Chiara's podcast.
My podcast.
We're combining today. So I am being joined by Chiara from Sweden, and she is being joined by me for her podcast. So Chiara, how you doing this morning?
Yes, well, it's afternoon here. I'm
right.
in Sweden. So that's the exciting part. Not only is two different podcasts, but we're also in two different time zones. So yeah, it's a wonderful, bit windy, but beautiful blue sky today. All good. What about you, Alan?
It's good. It's we've needed some rain in Rhode Island, so we've got a rainy day today, but that's okay in the summer. So I'm excited about this because Chiara and I met on LinkedIn and we talked about doing a combined podcast. So here we are doing it rather than it's good every now and then to change the format up and do some different things. And Chiara is an executive business coach. Did I say that correctly?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So she came up with the idea of doing this. So we're going to basically have a conversation and you guys are going to listen in. And this is pretty cool. So I'm excited. So Chiara, let's get into it. Let's talk about why don't you tell everyone what you do and let's just ask questions back and forth and have some fun.
Yeah. So, and I'll ask you also then to introduce yourself. Thank you, Alan. So my background is really into marketing and innovation. So I've been working for 20 years in large multinational organization. I am originally from Italy, actually, and left Italy 16 years ago. Lived many years in Switzerland, enjoying skiing and a lot of fun life, and then settled with a Swedish husband, and therefore we moved to Sweden. And it also, so last year I decided that life in corporate was getting to an end for me, and I wanted to do something else and have a bigger impact in the world. I'm really a challenger in terms of how we work, how we manage our time. I really think we don't need to work more hours to be more effective. We just need to work harder and more committed and more focused. So that's really my big mantra and my big objective in life, to help other professionals regain power of their life and time, achieve more, but with definitely less time and less sweat. What about you, Alan?
So, yeah, we're going to talk about that less is more concept too. But I've been in sales now for this is my 27th year, I believe. If I'm losing count because I forgot how to count at this point. You ever see the new math, by the way? Do they have the new math in Sweden? Because my daughter comes home tries to have me help her with math, and I can't even figure out how they're figuring things out these days. So, but anyway, 27 years in sales. I have a best-selling book on Amazon called The 7 Secrets to Selling More by Selling Less. And my whole concept is, and this is true even in beyond sales, is when you treat someone like a human being and not a process or a number, you're just going to be more successful and they're going to like you more. And sales is all about like and trust. And I train people how to be very successful without being the sales robot or without being the salesperson that people hate to talk to. Because here's the first line of my book, and this is what prompted me to write the book, is I always wondered why people hated salespeople. Just was like, why is that out there? And I asked, I used to go to this coffee shop every morning. I still do. Everyone that walked in the coffee shop for the first, 3 weeks, it would turn out to be 278 people. I asked every one of them, can I ask you a question? And they would always say yes. I'm like, do you like meeting with or talking with a salesperson? And all 278 said no. Not one person said, yeah, I don't mind it. Not even I don't mind it. They were all said, oh God, no. The reactions I got were crazy. So then that's where I started thinking, there's a problem with this. And I was successful. What am I doing to solve it? So that's kind of my background. And then I wrote the book and then the podcast and then I met you and then here we are.
So, and let's stay a little bit that, because I really think it's so interesting. because I'm also one of the person like, oh my God, salespeople, please not. But also when I do my coaching, I really tell the people, it's not about you. Don't focus so much about you. Focus about who you're serving. What value are you adding?
Right.
So I wonder, can you just tell us a little bit, what is the principle of this that you teach your people?
Well, from a sales perspective, and again, even talking to a child, I can use that as an example, because basically talking to a child really up through their teenage years, and I've got a 12-year-old, a 17-year-old, 19-year-old. So I've got the different levels. You're also trying to sell, right? You're also trying to convince them to do something, usually.
All the time.
All the time. Yeah, exactly. So if you make it about what you want, they're never going to do it. You always have to make it about them. And in a sales situation, if you're thinking about, I got to go in and make this sale today because I got to hit my numbers, you're always going to be a mediocre salesperson. If you go in, forget about your numbers, forget about your quota, forget about everything. Your number one goal is, I'm going to help this person solve their problem today. You're going to be a much more successful, the terrible grammar, but you're going to be more of a successful salesperson than you ever thought imaginable, because you're changing that mindset. The mindset in sales is always like, let's get the sale, let's conquer, let's close them. I hate the term close. Let's do that. And it's all about the salesperson. So again, talking to a child, getting them to clean their room rather than making them say, I want you to clean your room. You would, there's reward systems and everything, but you make it about them. Do you think it would be nice? Imagine yourself sitting on your bed without all the wrappers there. How would that feel? Something like that. That's a bad example, but that's kind of what I mean. And that's what my book's about.
It's really interesting because the model that I use and that really helps me and my clients and everybody I help out with is that exactly as you say, when you have a thought, how do you feel about it? If you're thinking, oh my God, I really need to sell that. What is the feeling that you're going to have? Because your feelings are going to generate your action. So if you're coming from a place of, I'm really going to sell this today, I really got to hit my number today. So you're starting from a place of scarcity, right? You haven't done your number right yet. You need to really sell more.
Yep.
So then your feeling will be, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I'm disappointed with myself. And all those negative feelings won't be able to generate an action that is going to be resonating with your client. The client will perceive your stress, will perceive your negativity, will perceive your anxiety. And that's why your result will be, you're not going to sell. Yeah, right. You're gonna fail with that.
Right.
Versus turning it around, what is the result you want to have? The result is that I want to be selling. How do I sell it? If the action is, my customer needs to feel the value that I'm giving. You really feel like I'm giving them something that they're dying to get. I'm jumping on it because I really need it. So you really need to have that mindset when you're trying to sell that. So how do you feel when you think of that action? Then you feel excited, you feel energized, you feel engaged. I'm going to be there solving a problem, adding value to this person. So this is really the turning around. If you start with a thought that is not serving you, then start from the end result you wanna achieve and work your way up.
100%. When I train reps, I always say one of the number one things you need to do is you need to have the customer envision what it's going to feel like after they own your product or service or go through your service. If you don't talk about the feeling, the emotion of what they're going to, how owning this new car, car manufacturers are brilliant at it. They, why do you do a test drive? Because you want to feel what that car is going to feel like when you're driving it. But if you're ordering something like, let's say it's as arbitrary or as pedestrian as a copy machine, no deference to copy machine salesmen, they're very important, but everybody, there's a million companies that sell copy machines. So what's going to differentiate you from company A, B, and C who sells the exact same machine? You tell them the feeling they're going to have when, you had a deadline and you needed 1,000 collated sheets of the meeting notes and this machine got it done. That elicits a feeling in the customer that the other companies did not talk about because all they talked about were the technical features of the product.
Beautiful. Yes.
So
absolutely.
that's something to remember. So now I want you to, I'm going to change gears a little bit because I don't want to forget to mention this. So Kiara was did a presentation for my networking group last week, and she made a brilliant point that almost everyone in that group texted me or messaged me saying that was an amazing point that she made about your to-do list and how to take that to-do list and turn it into something that you actually do. And so I'd love for you to talk about that, because that one point I think will help everybody.
Yeah, so definitely. It's something that I challenge everyone, and it's as I say, it's really powerful, because the fact is that, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, if you're working on your own, if you don't have your client that is pushing you on a deadline, or your boss or whatever, we tend to procrastinate a lot. And what happens is that we're all very good to write to-do lists, but the problem is that we're trapped by the to-do list. We're slaves to our to-do list, because this to-do list is just a long list of unstructured things. So what I do, and this is what we talked about last Friday, is that for every action, you're going to decide how much time is this going to take you. And you're going to push back and say, well, I don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to take the time it's going to take. And I'm going to challenge that, because I will remind you, when you were in school and you had to bring in, finish an essay in an hour or in 30 minutes, you were going to do it in 30 minutes or an hour. You didn't go back to the teacher and say, oh, sorry, can I get another hour? Can I get another 3 hours? And we're so sloppy with ourselves. We're very good in commitment when there is somebody else involved, but we're not honoring the time with ourselves. So what I do is that I really take, I look at my to-do list and I decide how much time is this going to take? And that's the time it's going to take. Because the reality is that when we don't set ourselves this time, we're going to be distracted. Yeah. So if I know that I have this thing and I can do it, between today and Friday, I will just take the time it takes. And I'm going to be distracted, checking my email, checking Facebook, going get a coffee with my husband, every other activity that can distract us. Versus if I know that I need to deliver that in an hour, you can be sure there's no distraction. It's going to neither distract me nor you. We're going to be so laser focused. And we're going to get it done. And the thing is that also is what I say is that it doesn't need to be an A+. It needs to be a B-. Yeah, you don't have to aim for perfection, because perfection is a slave of progress. If we're aiming to be perfect, it's never going to be perfect on the first round, and you can always revise later. So aim for that B-. It shouldn't be a C-. It should be a B-. Aim for that and get it done in that time frame. And the other thing is that you need to put it in your calendar. It can't just stay lingering. Yeah, it's going to take 2 hours and I don't know when I'm going to do it. Take it and put it in your calendar. I mean, you're going to feel, if you look at my calendar, it looks like crazy. And I have color coding for personal, private, or, other.
Yeah.
But it's really so helpful. And it's not that you are not spontaneous. It's actually the other way around, because if I make sure that I assign the time both for my personal and my professional task, I know that I'm going to stick to them. So if I want to have dinner or a drink or a coffee with somebody, I calendar that, and that's in the, and then I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to really honor the commitment with myself and with the person that I want to meet. So really taking that to-do list and translating it into your calendar, so that then you can scrap that to-do list. You just. And that's really the discipline you do, right? You go through that, you put it in the calendar, off. And the other thing also, when you go through it, you can prioritize. You can see, is there something I can delegate? Does it really need to be done? Because also you're realistic. Because when you start writing all these to-do lists, and you don't assign the time, you might see that you're actually overstretching yourself. You're expecting to work 100 hours this week. Do you really want to do that?
Right,
is that really important?
Right. So that concept is it's amazingly simple, but it's amazingly foreign to most people. Even when you look at calendar apps, the tasks are separate. So it actually makes you list the tasks, list your to-do list. Like, great, you got a to-do list, but you're just saying take those tasks and actually put it on your calendar and give it a time frame. And I have this very detailed planner that I use every single week, and it talks about my yearly goals, my quarterly goals, my monthly goals, and then what I need to do that week. But you're right. When I have it broken down into the week, then I'll look at most 10 items. I'm like, which one do I want to do first? Well, I don't, so you're right. Then you get distracted because nothing is actually calendared, like you said. So I'm going to start taking those weekly goals and breaking them down into days and when I'm going to do them. And I just think that, if anybody gets anything out of this podcast today, that I think would be, that's just that's a game changer, I think, for your time management. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, and that's really also in the concept of what we started talking earlier, right? This less is more. When you are more disciplined, when you are really more careful about your time and more respecting the honors and the time that you have calendared, then you will have more time. Because I really am very, very keen on having my personal time, but also very keen on getting my goals done. So then I don't need to compromise. I don't procrastinate my goals, and I really have time for everything. Because the thing is that time is such an abstract concept. I mean, when I hear people, like, sometimes I also argue with my husband because he doesn't do this. I try to tell him that.
Those damn husbands.
Of course, those are the worst people, right? The closest to you. And he says, I don't have the time. And I look at him like, that's exactly why you need to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly, you don't have the time because you're overwhelmed. Start being more disciplined. Start being more cautious about how you allocate your time. We talked about this last week. Audit your time. How are you spending your time? What are the activities that are eating up your time? And anything that is really just that you're doing unconsciously, decide, do you want to continue doing it or just crap it out? So right. I think we are too passive. We like I'm talking to my kids, right? They spend an hour on the game and they're like, and I'm telling them now time is over, but we just started. Right. This concept of time is so abstract. It's really interesting.
And I want to add something to that. The actual concept of the tasks that you're doing. There's a term out there called IAP, which is called an income producing IPA, income producing activity. And what I started trimming the fat, as they say, is if you're not doing something that's either going to make your money or advance your business, you should be doing something else. Now, obviously, you have the tasks that need to get done that don't do any of those things, but try to make 80% of your time IPAs, income producing activities, which means contacting clients, which means prospecting, which means doing your module for your book, whatever it means. Don't spend your time on Instagram or on Facebook, scrolling because you're procrastinating. Everyone, you like you said before, you can get so distracted so easily. And all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, it's been 20 minutes and I haven't done anything. And I didn't even know I was doing this. So try to really be aware of the activities you're actually doing. And then make sure 8 out of 10 of them are advancing your business.
Absolutely. It's this concept of doing versus producing.
Yes, I remember you said that before too. Yep.
Right? You can keep yourself busy until the cows come home. But if all the activities are not working against the goals that you have set for yourself, for what the results you want to do, you need to challenge that. And I'm not saying that you don't allow yourself to do things that are not producing, but at least you need to be aware of it. You need to be consciously saying, okay, now I'm going to spend 15 minutes of nothing time.
Right.
Fine. Yeah. Yep. But then don't say I don't have time. Right.
I'm too busy. I'm overwhelmed. You're right. This is awesome. So you wanted to talk about the less is more concept.
Yes.
We were talking about that. So I mentioned to you that I have a story about that. And I am a big proponent of not only less is more, but this is something I had to learn. And I'm also a big proponent of putting positive things out into the universe because I know if you do that, positive things will come back. And again, I can say this because it happened to me. So here's my story, and it has to do with how I wrote my book. So 2017, I was still selling windows and doors day to day, visiting 25 homes a week. And I had been doing that for 16, 17 straight years for the same company. And I was always a number one sales rep, but in 2017, I finished number 2. I had a lousy year. In my standards, I had a lousy year.
Yes, you were number 2.
Yeah, I was number 2. I also, I had some personal issues. So 2018 comes around, everybody gets excited. They do their, I call a New Year's resolution a January to-do list because after January, everybody forgets about it. So I was driving in town, and I had the concept of the book in my head for about 3 or 4 years. And, I would dabble with it. I'd write an outline. I'd start a chapter. Never, again, didn't schedule time, didn't do anything for it. So I'm driving on Main Street in my town in Rhode Island, and I always went to the same coffee shop. And this particular morning, someone was parking in front of me, and I look to the left, and I see a new coffee shop. It opened a few months earlier, never even noticed it. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go to a new coffee shop today. So I walked in that coffee shop. And again, I'm just trying to get my feet under me again. I just know that I just had a terrible year. So on the counter was a box of cards. So the woman, Shannon, who's the owner, she's awesome. She had this wooden box of cards. They're called cue cards. I actually have some in my room right now. And those are the kind of things you pull the card out and you flip it over, and it has like a prompt question, like, what was the last nicest thing you did? Or, just to ask you, like, you kind of think about things. Out of 300 cards, the one I pull out, I flip it over and it says, what would you like your legacy to be? And man, did that punch me in the stomach. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want my legacy being doing the same thing for the next 20 years, visiting homeowners and doing this. My legacy is teaching and training and speaking. That's what and writing. That's what I love to do. Those are my happy places. So I sat down at the table. I called my boss and I told him, I'm taking every morning off for the rest of the year. Do not give me any morning appointments. And he fell off the chair. He said to me, he goes, that's 30% less revenue for you. I said, yes, I know, but I have to do this. And I made the decision that morning to write my book. And I was writing that book every morning. So it started January 3rd of 2018, and the book was finished May 31st of the same year, because I was there every morning writing the book. And here's the point I'm getting to, and I tend to be long-winded. The less is more concept. So I still I still sold windows and doors that year, but here's the thing. I ran 57 less appointments than I did the year before. And I sold $500,000 more. And I was the rep of the year in 2018 nationally. And it made me realize that when you change your attitude, when you do the things that make your heart sing, you just become a better person, not only for yourself, but everyone around you, your family, your customers. I was going into an appointment with much more of a helping mindset. And I went from one of my worst years to one of my best years. And obviously I wrote the book and it was a big sense of accomplishment. And since then, here I am 2 years later. But when I actually sat down and said, man, I ran 150 less appointments and I sold 30% more than I did the year before. That is an eye opener. So for anyone who's listening, when you think you got to do more and more and more, it's always the quality, not the quantity.
Oh my God, this resonates really a lot with me. I think there is 2 takeaways for me there. The first one is exactly as I say, when you are committed, when you know that you have less time, you're actually going to be better, more focused, more, you're going to be listening more to your customers, learning and adapting, because you still want to make money, but you have to have it to do it in half of the time. So your brain is so powerful, right? We don't trust our brain so much. But if you're more sloppy, you say, I have all the year, I have all the time in this world, you're going to approach every meeting in a very different mindset versus like, this needs to be a sales. So approaching that in every time, but not with the desperation, as we talked before about, right, I really need to sell it, but more, I'm going to be here listening what this customer needs are, spending all the time it requires. I'd rather spend more time with this customer than do 3 visits, but really, really paying attention to what they're saying and offering value to them. So that's really, really important. And the other thing is, I did actually an episode about it in my podcast, which is about value-driven goals. So your goal to write the book was driven by your values, because one of the ways to find your own values is actually to think about what legacy do you want to leave. Who do you want to be remembered from and for?
Yep.
So that process that you did in that moment, you saw that card and you understood, what am I doing today to live my purpose? What am I doing to live my values? If I want to leave a legacy, what am I doing today besides, making money for myself as a great salesperson? Mm-hmm. So that's really why you were so committed and nothing distracted you, right? You made it happen. So it's fascinating.
It was an amazing feeling too, because it's just, and going back to the, when you're in that place, then you put those great feelings out, those positive feelings out to the universe. Here's another great example. 3 days later, after I started writing my book, 3 days, this woman walks in and she orders coffee. She sits next to me. We start chatting. She actually was a self-published writer who published 18 books already. Now, I would have never met her. I am 100% convinced I manifested our meeting because I needed to start knowing about the publishing industry. And here's this woman, the universe sat her down next to me and said, have a conversation. And we spoke for 3 hours. So that's what I mean. It's like, don't think that stuff doesn't happen. It does. And by the way, I stole that cue card. It's in my car right now.
Yeah,
I bought Shannon a new box of them. So yeah, the less is more concept, the being positive and not desperate, and doing what makes, when I coach someone, one of the first questions I ask is, what makes your heart sing? What is that? And are you doing it? And if you're not, let's figure out how to do it and incorporate that into your whole life. Because it's not the legacy at your eulogy. It's not the legacy that they're going to write about in your obituary. It's the legacy to yourself. It's your legacy when you go to sleep at night. Did you do the right thing? Were you happy? Or did you just float through life arbitrarily and all of a sudden you're 65 and you realize, where did my life go?
Yeah. And the other thing that I really would like to add here is that no dream is too big. Because I think we are our biggest enemies so often. We are telling ourselves the stories of, I'm too old, I'm not smart enough, I don't have enough money, and all these excuses to convince ourselves that we can't dream big and we can't make our dreams happen. And this is really what I work with my clients, really on your mindset. Because I remember there was this saying that you can either believe that you're going to do it, or you can believe that you're not going to do it. And both cases could be true, depending on you.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
If you believe that you can make it, you're going to make it. If you believe that you can't, that's also correct.
Right.
You're not going to be able to do it. So our mindset, training and really listening to our thoughts and our actions, looking at our actions, is so important. No, nothing is too big. I mean, look at your energy that you attracted with that lady showing up in the coffee shop.
It still blows me away that happened.
Yeah, because you attracted that energy, right?
Yep.
You send that message to the universe, and the universe answered.
Yeah.
And I know it can sound a little a little weird for some people, but it is just how it happens. It's not.
It's how it happened. It's energy, and yeah, if you don't believe it, that's fine. But trust me when I say it. However it works, and it's just you just start. Your days just become better. The negative, like if you're a negative person, you're always complaining about people, well, you're attracting all of that. That's why you're negative, and you're just attracting all of this negative energy. So you just continue that cycle of negativity. If you can break that, you'll just be amazed on the change. One thing you said I want to point on, because I point out or hit on, and I know we're kind of running out of time, but you said you're going to make it. If you dream big, you're going to make it. There was a TED Talk, and of course I'm forgetting her name, but she had a TED Talk called Fake It Till You Make It. And that goes back to your mindset. It goes back to, you know what? A lot of people are so afraid to put themselves out there. A lot of people are afraid that I don't have an opinion, or no one's going to listen to me. But you know what? If you put yourself out there, you even if you're not an expert at something, but you know it a little bit, fake it until you make it, because that's your mindset. You're gonna feel like you're the expert, and all of a sudden you will become the expert. You will become the person. Like when I first started doing videos on LinkedIn, I was scared to death, and I've spoken in front of 1,000 people. I don't care. Standing on a stage for me is like second nature. But I to do a video, I was scared to death. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this like I know I've been doing it. I was faking it until now. I think I do pretty good videos. And if that's a piece of advice I can give you, is give people who are listening, just get out there and do it. Put yourself out there, fake it till you make it, because eventually you will make it.
Exactly. And, my coach also says, even if you think you're illusional anyway. So why don't think big, right? Why don't you dream big anyway? You need to be illusional anyway, right?
Right,
Because
right.
we're, putting ourselves down and beating ourselves. We're also there illusional. So we might as well dream big and make our dreams happen.
Awesome. Yep, I agree. Well, why don't you wrap up your podcast and then I'll wrap up mine, and, unless you have anything else to add. But this has been, you and I can talk for the next 3 hours, but
I know
we can't do podcasts that long. So
really, really interesting, really inspiring. I'm gonna link your book and all your contact details in the show notes so people can find you and engage with you and maybe hook you up on LinkedIn and look at your wonderful videos. I'm a big viewer of your videos. So thank you very much for joining in this conversation. I really think it was powerful.
Yes, I agree, Chiara, and I'm going to do the same to have encourage people who need some guidance and some help and some coaching. She is in Sweden, but Zoom is a wonderful thing. So we're talking right now. The world is our ocean or our oyster, as they say.
Oyster.
So your stuff is going to be very helpful to my audience as well. So this has been a lot of fun. So this is Alan Langer, and
this is Chiara Covone.
And you guys have a great day. Thanks for joining us today.